What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we are here with Nathan of Inglorious. Great to talk with you today, man. Thank you for your time today.
No problem. Thanks for talking to me.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you here. We got the brand new album scheduled to come out very soon. We Will Ride. You have two singles out, She Won't Let You Go and Medusa. Could that serve as like a clear representation of what we could be expecting from We Will Ride, or is that just one little taste of it?
I think that's one little taste of it. And for us as a band, I think it's pretty cool that Medusa is actually like the first ever Inglorious song with slide guitar on. So on this album, it goes to show you that we try to do a few different things. We're um, trying to show people like all of what we are about. And also there's that song, for instance, was co-written by a good friend of mine, Joel Hoekstra from Whitesnake. So yeah, there's different flavors, there's different writers, and it doesn't sound like any Inglorious album so far.
Okay, so it's not just like a continuation of Ride to Nowhere. It is almost kind of like a new beginning for Inglorious, you would say, right?
Absolutely. I think after the lineup change, inevitably it was going to sound different anyway. So we really wanted to embrace that and also bring in a producer for the first time on an Inglorious album. So yeah, definitely. To me, it feels like it's gone up a real notch. You know, it's hit another level this time round.
Awesome. Was there kind of like a preconceived idea on how you wanted these changes to happen, or was there kind of like a lot of improvising and experimentation?
It just kind of happened. I think when you get a new group of people together, the dynamic is different. I ultimately was in a really happy place. I was super inspired by everything, but in particular, the fact that my new guitar player, Danny, when we started writing this album, he was like 19 years old. So these riffs that you're hearing, like on She Won't Let You Go, that's one of the first, it's the first song he ever fully wrote, you know? So it's kind of crazy to think that that's on our album. And me and him actually wrote that song for his solo project that I was going to be involved with before he joined the band. So it's kind of weird how it all worked out. But yeah, having those different groups of people, I think, is really important to kind of making an album that does this. You know, you want those highs, you want the lows, you want the soft moments, you want the screamy moments. And yeah, I like to do that by putting different groups of us together. So some will be just two of us, and some will be like the whole five, and then I'll get an outside writer in just to try and make sure we've got a cohesive yet interesting album to listen to.
Yeah, because that almost seems like I've noticed with albums, it is almost kind of like either or. Like you want it to be cohesive and consistent, but you don't want it to be repetitive, and you also want it to be somewhat diverse and bring some of the unexpected, but you also don't want it to be directionless at the same time. It almost seems like you kind of have to learn to cater to the best of both worlds in that regard.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the other thing that helped that was the producer. So ultimately, every Inglorious song ever has always had my voice on, which I kind of feel like hopefully ties it together a bit. But having him on it, on this album in particular, just to put that gorgeous, shiny, expensive, fully produced sound on every track, really did make it flow.
Yeah, like, and having a producer, I've always said, the producer's the fifth Beatle, the sixth Beatle. If you're in Slipknot, the 10th Beatle. So it always helps to have that extra input, right?
Definitely, and it's something that I'd never done before with this band. So we've always produced our albums kind of live before. This is the first time that, because of COVID, obviously we weren't going to be able to anyway. We had to be in separate rooms when we were recording. So yeah, I like the way it's been produced in a totally kind of modern sense, and it is so sonically different to anything we've done before. But the crux is still the same. It's still the same drummer, it's still the same singer, and we're singing British bluesy hard rock. Like.
Do you think that, even though I'm asking this way early on in advance, being that We Will Ride isn't even out to the public yet, but like, do you think that taking these new approaches has opened more doors for Inglorious's songwriting in the future?
Yeah, definitely. And I think already there is people have only heard two singles, but the reviews have been great, and also our Spotify numbers, which they're more than double what they've ever been for any previous release. We're getting into the biggest playlists on pretty much on there for these singles, so people are enjoying it. This is obviously something that we had to do, and like if we did four albums that all sounded the same, people would be bored. So we have to keep keep changing it, keep tweaking it, and we're growing, we're evolving constantly. We're still only young, you know.
Well, I've noticed that with We Will Ride, there has been sort of like many different vibes behind it. Like going from She Won't Let You Go and Medusa, those are the two singles. But when I listen to the song like Messiah or He Will Provide or My Misery or something like that, it almost seems like there is sort of like different vibes and different sort of emotions. Is it almost kind of like representative of a feeling that you were feeling at a particular time?
Absolutely, yeah. I think like as far as the lyrics go and the things I'm singing about, it's totally heavier emotionally than anything I've done before. I've been quite personal with my writing before, but never been this emoted. And yeah, I was angry a lot last year, you know, as all musicians were. I was really pissed off with a lot of things that were going on. And there was just so much to write about. And also in myself, I wasn't just angry, I was upset. I missed singing, I missed performing, I missed feeling like a singer. I didn't feel like a singer last year. And when we hit those kind of dark moments, these songs are therapy in a way, you know. Like when you're writing something like My Misery, which is clearly about a battle with depression, it's amazing to get it out there, and especially when you get a reaction when people are enjoying it, you know, like or they feel the same, you know, they get that same, that's happened to them, you know, and that to me is really special. So I hope people like it. That's all I can say.
I like how a song like My Misery, what I liked about it is how very direct it was. It was almost kind of like a no strings sort of attached song to it. It was just quick. It was, to the point. You know what I mean? Do you like to leave music open to interpretation, or do you try to maybe engage the listener into what you were feeling or what you were trying to convey?
It depends on each song. Like I like to write about people mostly. So there's a lot of songs in here like Medusa or She Won't Let You Go or We Will Ride, the title track, or even Cruel Intentions. Pardon me, I'm drinking soda. But with those songs, they're about either horrible people or interesting people that I've met. I find I love people. People are the source of all inspiration. And to me, it's harder to write about my feelings and emotions because I'm just guarded. I'm a very guarded person. I don't let too many people in, and it's so strange to write about those things this time around because I didn't think I would previously. I've tried to keep it quite not vague, but tried to keep it very subjective and just away. And now it's all very much in me. It's what's going through my mind. And also the main inspiration is from Netflix. Dude, I watched so much freaking Netflix, like so much last year that I had to write about things that I'd learned about. So I now know. I watched a great series called Messiah, which is where the song Messiah came from, and it's about a dude who claims he's the second coming. I watched some other documentaries about a certain US leader who's not anymore. I watched lots of interesting things.
I wonder who it could be.
He's not had much airtime at all, so I hope you can work it out. No, but there's so much to write about going on in the world right now. So yeah.
Yeah, I've been saying that, like, turmoil and all this darkness, it's going to be great fuel for creativity. Like, I've been saying that when all this bullshit is over, we're going to enter, like, a new age renaissance. Like, now is the time to start a death metal band, if anything, or now is just the time to start a metal band. People are going to be so pissed off that I just see, like, I see, like, mainstream politicians having, like, Decrepit Birth as their fucking theme song.
You're right. You're actually right. It's going to happen. I just, like, from any sadness comes art, right? Like, really, like when we're at our lowest, the most amazing things are created. Even outside of like our genre, there's things like, it's why people love Adele. Like her first album was written in heartbreak. It's all about that kind of when you're at your lowest, the most beautiful things happen. So, yeah, I'm pretty pleased that I'm not feeling that way now.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I was able to utilize that and turn it into something that I'm really proud of, and something that may be able to help someone or get someone to start talking about their issue with with what they're going through, especially guys. Like we suck at that, right?
Yeah.
We suck at talking about shit. So
Yeah, we're the worst at admitting that we have a problem. Now, obviously, having these concepts and, people influencing you and watching these different documentaries, that's all great that you have a diverse and a variety of sources of inspiration. I think that's really, really cool. Do you feel, obviously, it determines the lyrics, but do you feel that it could also maybe determine the music itself as well?
yeah, we kind of start all Inglorious songs with a riff. So I will ask the boys to show me the riffs, and they will write a record a riff on their phone, or we jam it on tour and sound check, and I'll go, that's great, let's turn that into a song. Then we turn that into kind of almost like a backing track. So we write the chorus, make sure it's got highs, make sure it's got lows, make sure it's interesting, memorable, and not too complicated. And then I will write a tag. And as soon as I've written that tag, which is the most natural thing for me to sing in that song. So, and We Will Ride, it was the final line of the chorus is upon 1,000 horses we will ride. And it's really simple. Then in my brain, I'm like, okay, who's riding a horse? Why are they riding a horse? Where are they riding the horse to? Like, I have to then create a song and a story around that. And that's kind of how my lyrics work that way. I like the riff. The riff dictates what the song is going to be about to me, because if it's a heavy riff, I'm going to write something disgusting. And if it's a lighter riff, I'm going to write something fun. So yeah, it's all about the riff, really.
Do you prefer if like you have a fellow band member presenting the riff to you, like where there's human interaction since people influence you, or do you prefer to kind of be alone in isolation, listening to the riff on repeat for hours on end, in a way?
Previously, in like other lineups and incarnations of the band, I would have liked to be separate, but this time round, I was really feeling it. So I would go up to London. I live in the southwest of England. I was going all the way up to London, pretty much every week to write with Danny and Phil and all the guys in the band, because I was enjoying the experience, and it was so great to kind of have input at that level. Yeah, it was a real team effort this time around, and it had to be. If it wasn't, we wouldn't have got the album done during this lockdown.
Yeah, ironic too. In a time where human interaction was advised against, that's when the human interaction was working in your favor.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we were writing the album just before lockdown hit, and then when lockdown hit, I totally lost all faith. I didn't feel like a singer. I didn't feel like a musician at all. I didn't write. And I knew I had the album coming, and I was like, I'm not writing. What's the point in writing? I'm not going to perform these songs ever again. Like, it's never going to happen. I was really down. And then when we got the date moved back for the album, it kept getting moved. And I had that final day, and they were like, okay, the law has changed. We can now go into the studio on this day. I sat down and I really finished everything off properly. But yeah, it's a weird one. Like, the recording of the album was so crazy in comparison to anything we've ever done.
Yeah, and it seems, and obviously, because like it's always interesting on how an environment that you record in is like you hear so many stories on how like turmoil and like craziness. Like I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts that all the best albums that we know in rock and roll were written in terrible freaking times. Like they really were. Like Back in Black,
yeah.
which is I consider to be the greatest rock album of all time, was written as a tribute to the tragic loss of Bon Scott. Like you see it, like how Guns N' Roses, how they were killing each other, making Appetite for Destruction. Like
that's what I was going to say. Appetite to me is that one where they were all really flat on their asses. Like they had nothing, and everyone was a junkie. Just you can't imagine what it was like in those sessions. How the hell they managed to get that album done is a miracle.
Yeah,
because wow,
yeah.
It's a miracle that didn't die. Really.
It really is. And now when we bring back MTV's Behind the Music or something like that, you're going to hear bands, yeah, back in my day we had the COVID pandemic and, we were fighting off the fucking lockdown police and beating the shit out of state liquor authority. That was real rock and roll back in the day. We told Governor Cuomo to go fuck himself. We told Boris Johnson, in your case, to go fuck himself. Like
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
that's gonna be the new rock and roll. Like you
Oh,
know,
good.
yep.
I can't.
Yeah, or like you know how like we had the straight edge hardcore movement, like the straight edge vegan hardcore movement. There's gonna be a new hardcore movement with masks and social distancing. Like,
They're gonna keep it going
yeah, yeah, like
forever.
you better fucking listen to us. You better stay 6 feet, motherfucker. The real hardcore. This next track goes to all you real motherfucking healthcare workers. So I see great art coming out of this, both metaphorically and
Yeah,
literally.
too right. You have to. You have to find some good in it. You know.
Of course. You ready for the most difficult question of the whole interview now?
Oh God, go on.
How do you know when a song is done?
Oh, you were right. It is the most difficult song
Well, you're already
question.
doing better than everybody else because this is when they would normally sign off. So,
I think I know when I go away singing it. You know, if I can't get it out of my head, if I'm sat there after a day like writing and I'm making dinner or I'm doing something and it comes in my head, then I feel like it's done. It has to be memorable to me, and that yeah, I had a lot more time obviously because of lockdown this time to make sure that all of those things I was really comfortable with going into the studio. So I'd say, yeah, when it sticks in your brain and you can't get it out like an earworm, you know, you wanna that's when you know.
yeah, and there's no excuses this time either. Like I've always found it like if an album has like a song that may seem rushed or unfinished, I've always found it forgivable because bands have deadlines. They may have a tour that they need to get out on immediately. There's no excuse. Everything has to be checked out with a fine tooth comb this time.
Yeah, and I think we were lucky that we had a producer this time to make sure that it was done, you know, because previously when you're producing yourself, you don't put that much pressure on you. You know, I'm quite a free, easy guy. We were very kind of 70s in our approach to making previous Inglorious albums. So this time round, it was quite cool to know that we only had 14 days and this guy was going to be there and he wanted to hear everything finished. So, yeah, we were very lucky. An amazing producer. Goodness, he's so good.
Definitely, definitely. And one other question I wanted to ask you is I actually didn't have this in mind until you brought it up, and very, very interesting because I always like it when an artist does like admit where they get their sources for inspiration. Like you mentioned, like from interacting with other people, which I think is great, and researching on Netflix. I consider Netflix and the internet just to be great libraries where we could do our research. Have you always looked for inspiration, or has ideas also have come when you least expected it?
Um, it comes to me really like, and like I say with the tag, as soon as I've written a hook or a melody line, I am then that's when the journey begins for me. As soon as that's the hardest bit is finding that bit where you go, um, on our first album, until I die. I literally wrote that at the chorus of the song, and then I was like, okay, now I have to work out what I'm trying to say because like what am I going to do until I die? Like what is the point of this song? So yeah, to me, the inspiration comes from that hook and getting that hook, but also I've written songs about everyone. I've written songs about my family. I've written songs about my grandfather who passed away last year. I've written songs about some of my best friends who died. I've written songs about a kid I knew in school who killed himself. I've written songs about things that have affected me and that have touched me. So these are yeah, they're real emotions and um, they're real stories. It's quite it's quite weird to think about that as well. You know, like these are all these songs represent people in my life.
Well, what I've always found great about Inglorious's music is that, and this isn't to talk crap about anybody else in particular, but sometimes rock and roll, like when I hear rock and roll, it's not meant to be taken seriously. It kind of has like, a fuck it attitude, throw negativity out the window, but there's something about you where you bring in that great rock and roll vibe that's fun to listen to, but it's also real and it's relatable and talks about, personal elements that I think are very, very relatable. So I think you get the best of both worlds of being there for people in great times, but also being there for people during difficult times as well.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I think that's a lot to do with singing and just the art of singing, to be honest, because I have sung in so many different kind of setups. I've done musicals and I've done all sorts of different kind of shows. So to me, it's having those different colors in my voice to know that I can access a song that is sad, and you can hear it on a song like Glory Days from my last album, which was about a breakup. You can hear the pain in my voice because I was crying in the session. So there's not too many young singers who I think are willing to be that vulnerable. But also at the same time, I can still do a screamy high note and show off and be an ostentatious rock star.
Yeah.
You have to be able to do it all and have versatility, and I pride myself on that as a singer.
I never understood why, for a while, people thought that authenticity or that sensitivity was not rock and roll. Like, have they ever listened to Sweet Child O' Mine? Like, have they ever listened to Stairway to Heaven? Sure, those songs are illegal to play at Guitar Center now, and I don't blame them, but, like, like, I never understood why, like, sensitivity, why there has been a stigma against sensitivity in rock and roll, really.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Um, not all rock songs are about fucking and drinking.
Yeah.
Like they're not.
Yeah.
It would be really boring if they were.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think everybody would be straight edge after that, because it would be straight edge and virgins. But so before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed this discussion. Is there just anything else that you would like to promote for Inglorious? Maybe some live stream performances to support the release of We Will Ride, or anything else you'd like to plug?
There's none of that coming up, but the first thing is obviously I'm doing a new project on the side of Inglorious with the record label that I'm with, Frontiers, and I'm doing that with Joel Hoekstra from Whitesnake, Tommy Aldridge from Whitesnake, Marco Mendoza, and Michael Sweet from Striper, that I'm fronting. Looking forward to that. People should keep an eye open for that.
That's a hell of a super group.
And yeah, like I'm so buzzed. You can imagine, as a Whitesnake fan, to be in a band with 3 Whitesnake members is like mind-blowing. Yeah. And then, yeah, I think people need to understand that obviously last year has been really hard for musicians, and I love the streaming platforms and what it gives us, but we haven't been able to earn money for the last year from performing. So if you got $20 in your wallet spare and you want some awesome music, just go on the website and buy some merchandise, buy a t-shirt, buy a vinyl, buy whatever you need to buy. And not just for us, this is for all young bands, we haven't got those $1 million record deals of the 80s. So we need help to keep doing this. So yeah, if you love a young band, go out there and support them and buy some merch.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Nathan. I really, really appreciate it. And I'll put a link to your merch store in the description on YouTube for you. But thank you so much. Everybody, we are here with Nathan of the Almighty Inglorious. We Will Ride, February 12th, via Frontiers. Pick it up then when supplies last forever. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We will see you next time.